I'm Bob Hawke, and in the video you are about to see, you'll discover what my fellow Australians and I love about Queensland. From the tantalising tropics to the outback tablelands, from the underwater majesty of the Great Barrier Reef to the sun, sand and surf of the Gold Coast, and everything in between. Indeed, you can enjoy all Queensland has to offer, complete with Australia's famous hospitality that accommodates all tastes and styles. Remember too, that Queensland the video is not only exciting and educational, it makes the ideal gift for family and friends as well. In fact, there's so much to do in Queensland that I believe after viewing Queensland the video, you'll understand why Australians say Queensland is beautiful one day, perfect the next.
Queensland is every tropical holiday experience you've ever imagined, plus much more. There's the Great Barrier Reef, untouched rainforests and world-famous beaches. All in an area twice the size of Texas and 7 times as large as Great Britain. The Tropic of Capricorn runs through the middle of the state, with hot tropical weather in the north and slightly cooler temperatures in the south. The seasonal differences aren't as marked here as in other states. The wet season is generally between December and March, but with an average 300 sunny days a year, Queensland is known as the Sunshine State. Tourism is big business here. Half of all international visitors to Australia spend time in Queensland, making it the state's 3rd largest industry. Most of Queensland's attractions are spread along the coast and can be grouped into 3 areas: the far north, the Whitsundays and the south. Brisbane is the capital of Queensland. It began as a penal colony in 1824, 36 years after the first European settlement in Sydney. The state's rich mineral and rural industries have helped the population grow to more than 3 million people. Almost half of those live in Brisbane. The city sits on the Brisbane River, around an hour's drive from the coast. It's smaller than the southern capitals of Sydney and Melbourne, and the pace of life tends to be a little slower. The centre of most of Brisbane's leisure activities is South Bank, a fairly recent development just across the river from the central business district. It's next to the cultural centre and museum, and its most popular attraction is its own beach. At weekends, South Bank really comes to life, with the addition of hundreds of market stalls.
Right foot up, a bit more underneath you.
For the more adventurous, just a short distance down the road, is the perfect place to try rock climbing on the Kangaroo Point Cliffs.
Okay, just try and move up with your right foot a bit, and then lead the second with your left.
A couple of hours' drive west of Brisbane is the garden city of Toowoomba. Every spring, thousands are drawn to the mountaintop community for its festival of flowers. Almost every visitor to Brisbane heads to the world-famous Gold Coast, home of Australia's top theme parks and some of our best beaches. In fact, there are 40 kilometres of golden sandy beaches along this part of the coast. The most popular is Surfers Paradise, a vast stretch of sand joining dozens of high-rise apartments to the sea. No matter what time of year, there are always people on this beach. For non-beachgoers, the Gold Coast offers Jupiter's Casino, plenty of shopping, and every kind of heart-stopping activity imaginable. The northern end of the coast is the thrill seekers' mecca, and it's also where you'll find SeaWorld. Only the most organised will be able to see all this sea life park has to offer in one day. SeaWorld has two main rivals. The first is Dreamworld on the main road between Brisbane and the Gold Coast. It has an Australian theme for its rides and shows, and just a short way down the road is the newest of the big three, Warner Brothers Movie World. As the name suggests, it has all sorts of film-based activities, plus its own movie studios. A less-known feature of the Gold Coast is its picturesque hinterland. Around half an hour's drive up the mountains, you'll find yourself in national parks filled with native animals and plants. There are a number of small places to stay here. The most famous is O'Reilly's, a family-run lodge with guided tours on specially constructed boardwalks through the treetops. The Gold Coast is easy to reach with its own domestic airport at Coolangatta and regular bus services from Brisbane. A popular alternative to the Gold Coast is the Sunshine Coast, around an hour's drive north of Brisbane. Like its southern counterpart, it has several white sandy beaches with international resorts at both Coolum and Noosa. Once again, a trip inland to the townships of Maleny and Montville is certainly worth the effort, and a fun way to take in the scenery is on a Harley-Davidson tour. If you prefer four wheels to two, a country pubs tour will let you taste local hospitality at a few historic hotels, and perhaps whet your appetite for another hinterland attraction, the Big Pineapple. This is definitely one for families or the young at heart. A mini train takes visitors on a tour of the plantation, and the restaurant serves every kind of pineapple delicacy imaginable. Queensland's known for its idyllic islands, and while most are further north along the Great Barrier Reef, the waters off the state's south also have a few of their own. Moreton Island is a short ferry ride from Brisbane. It has comfortable accommodation, and a few special visitors often drop in for a meal. North and South Stradbroke Islands also offer a great wilderness experience that's still close to the city. Further north is Fraser Island, the world's largest sand island. Kingfisher Bay Resort is a great base to explore the island, but many visitors choose to camp. This is four-wheel drive country with long stretches of powdery white sand, great fishing and wonderful bush treks across the island, sometimes with the local dingoes. Fraser is just off the coast from Hervey Bay, which is known as the whale-watching capital of Queensland. In the cooler months, up to 18 boats a day go in search of these huge mammals during their annual migration from Antarctica. Around 400 kilometres north of Brisbane is Bundaberg, the home of Australia's famous rum, and off the coast is the southern tip of the Great Barrier Reef. This is what attracts many visitors to Australia. The Barrier Reef is considered the 8th wonder of the world, stretching more than 2,000 kilometres along the Queensland coast and comprising 2,900 individual reefs. There are 71 coral islands. Lady Elliot is the most southern, just 85 kilometres northeast of Bundaberg, with regular flights from the mainland. This is the place for nature lovers. A low-key resort shares the small coral cay with 57 species of birds. Sea turtles nest on the beaches, and just offshore is the sort of diving you always read about. Perfect blue water, an amazing variety of sea life, and the feeling that you can see forever. For a few more home comforts, Heron Island is a short flight or boat ride from Gladstone. It has several standards of accommodation and again offers a fantastic opportunity to meet the residents of the reef. Many visitors to Queensland are surprised to find that most of the island resorts are actually closer to the coast than the reef. Great Keppel is one of these. It lies almost on the Tropic of Capricorn, just 16 kilometres from the mainland, with daily flights from Rockhampton. Keppel is a national park with 28 kilometres of beaches and its own resort and camping ground. The Barrier Reef is around 1.5 hours away by boat. And if you don't mind getting wet, you can pass the time with a little boom netting.
Ah, that was a good one. What do you think? Not enough.
The Whitsundays has a reputation as an international playground. The area is a haven for yachties, while landlubbers have a choice of top resorts and picture postcard beaches spread over 74 islands. Brisbane is 1,000 kilometres to the south, and the Barrier Reef can be reached on day trips. There are two major airports in the area, one at Proserpine, a short drive and boat ride from most islands, and the other is on Hamilton Island. Hamilton is the island for people who don't want to get away from it all. It's more like a town than a resort, with its own school, banks and post office. Up to 2,000 people can stay here in a choice of accommodation from high-rise to individual bungalows. And if you're arriving by boat, there's a 200-berth marina that houses some of Australia's most luxurious yachts. Almost every budget is catered for in the Whitsundays. You can camp on undeveloped islands such as Carlisle for just a couple of dollars a night, with a government permit. And Hawke Island offers basic bunk-style units with the bonus of its own fringing reef and underwater observatory. In the middle price range there are Daydream, South Mole, Club Med Lindeman and Brampton Islands, all of which offer an amazing selection of water sports and land-based activities for the whole family. For total luxury and pure indulgence, Hayman Island is the pick of the bunch. It offers 5-star accommodation, world-class restaurants, and arguably Australia's most enticing swimming pool. You don't need to stay on an island to experience the best of the Whitsundays. Boats and yachts are available for charter, or you can let someone else do the work and explore the area from the deck of a tall ship. There are also plenty of day trips to choose from. One of the most popular is a catamaran trip to Whitehaven, voted one of the world's top 10 beaches. It's an inviting mix of pure white silica sand and crystal clear water. All visitors here are day trippers. But you can also set sail for some fun on shore. Land sailing is the latest craze at Conway Beach, 40 kilometres from Airlie Beach. It's windsurfing on sand, and not for the faint-hearted. The islands and mainland around the Whitsundays also give visitors a taste of our vast rainforests. The towering trees and lush undergrowth are home to thousands of species of plants and animals, and the best way to get an appreciation for them is on a guided tour. The reef and the rainforests are both World Heritage listed and continue up to far north Queensland. Cairns is the major northern city with its own international airport. It sits more than 1,700 kilometres north of Brisbane, a good 2 days drive or overnight bus or train journey. The Sunlander and Queenslander both make the journey between the two cities. Visitors can be disappointed to find neither the railway nor the road actually follows the coast, but the inland scenery can be just as vivid. The last major stop before Cairns is Townsville. It's the state's third largest city with its own casino, and just off the coast is Magnetic Island, a popular retreat for families and backpackers. But for divers, the real offshore attraction is the SS Yongala, one of the world's best wreck dives. This steamship went down in 1911 with 121 people on board. Many of the passengers' possessions are still in the wreck, which acts like a magnet to marine life. The only way to explore the Yongala is from a live-aboard boat. Visitors to Townsville who don't have their sea legs can also experience life under the water at the Great Barrier Reef Wonderland, the world's largest living coral reef aquarium. Like the Whitsundays, the waters off North Queensland are scattered with islands, and a great way to explore them is by paddle power. 3-day kayaking tours operate from Mission Beach, north of Townsville, to the family group of islands. Two of the most exclusive island resorts in the area are Orpheus and Badara. Both are like private retreats with a small number of guests and no young children. Dunk Island is the most popular family resort in the area. It's largely covered by rainforest with lovely white sandy beaches for its guests and the many day trippers who visit here. Green Island is by far the most popular for people on day excursions. The Coral Cay is just 27 kilometres northeast of Cairns and around 40 minutes by boat. Every morning, hundreds of tourists invade the island to enjoy the fantastic snorkelling and swimming. There's also a marine animal park in the centre of the island, and a 5-star resort has recently opened here. Fitzroy Island is another which mixes guests with day trippers. It's also just a short boat ride from Cairns, but its resort is usually filled with families and backpackers. The island is dominated by a magnificent rainforest, but like many islands in the area, its beach is made from hard coral rather than sand. The Robinson Crusoe types who prefer to find an uninhabited island are likely to head to Michaelmas Cay and the Franklin Islands, Major tour companies visit both. The islands off Cairns are often just a stopping off place on a trip to the outer reef. There's an overwhelming choice of boats that make the journey. The most modern catamarans take around an hour and a half to reach the reef. The older ships can take up to 3 hours. But the reward at the end makes it all worthwhile. All boats carry snorkel and dive gear, and most offer the opportunity to try scuba diving for the first time. And a few of the more luxurious craft also let passengers see the reef without getting wet. For those who'd prefer to catch the fish, Cairns has a reputation as the sport fishing capital of the world. Spanish mackerel, barramundi and coral trout are all found in the water here. But it's the black marlin that attracts the serious fishermen. The great thing about Cairns is it offers so much more than a jumping off point to the reef. Just a short bus trip into the mountains behind the city is the rainforest village of Kuranda. It's famous for its craft markets and the Chapukai Aboriginal Dance Theatre, but most people make the trip up the mountain for the ride back down. To say it's breathtaking would do it a disservice. The scenic rail journey is something every tourist must experience for themselves. The mountains south of Cairns have their own natural attractions. The rapids of the Tully and Barron rivers are a good place to try whitewater rafting. While the Atherton Tablelands has lots of beautiful places to explore. "90 kilometres west of the city is Aboriginal tribal land, and the Kuku-Jungan people will take you on an overnight tour of their homeland. To the north of Cairns are the popular beach resorts of Palm Cove and Port Douglas. Visitors choose to stay here for a quieter holiday and to make use of the sandy beaches. But like all areas in the far north, marine stingers are a danger while swimming in the sea during summer. North of here, the townships get smaller, and the ferry ride across the river signals the start of the Daintree. The rainforest is believed to be the oldest in the world, evolving for the past 130 million years. Further up the dirt track is Cape Tribulation, a remote beachside community popular with bushwalkers and backpackers. An unexpected find in this wilderness is the Coconut Beach Resort, a modern, environmentally friendly complex for tourists who don't want to rough it. Cooktown is the last major city to the north. It's 180 kilometres from Cairns, and because of its isolation, very few tourists venture up here. But those that do are treated to a historic town with great fishing and the barrier reef just 6 kilometres out to sea. Northeast of Cooktown is the most northern of the island resorts, Lizard. It's very exclusive with a tariff to match. Many of the guests are either divers or fishermen. The island is close to the Cod Hole and Ribbon Reefs, while the game fishing attracts enthusiasts from around the world. There are less expensive ways of exploring this part of Queensland. Liveaboard dive boats leave Cairns and Port Douglas, and small cruise ships, such as the Reef Escape, take passengers from Cairns up to Cooktown and down to Townsville on 3, 4 and 7-night trips. Only the most adventurous continue on past Cooktown. The Cape York Peninsula is very rugged, with almost no sealed roads or bridges. It's recommended only four-wheel drives attempt the last 600 kilometres up to Australia's most northern tip. People come here to marvel at the dramatic scenery. A few also try fishing. But be wary about swimming here. Crocodiles have been known to attack humans in these parts. If you're prepared to travel to the west side of the Cape, you can take Australia's roughest train ride. The Gulflander runs 152 kilometres from Normanton to Croydon on the only train line in Australia not connected to a railway system. It was originally used to carry gold to the port, but now passengers can come along for the ride through this isolated area of northern Queensland. While Queensland's coast offers so much for visitors, the outback has a charm of its own. Mount Isa is the largest outback city, with a population of 25,000 made up from 56 nationalities. The mining town is around 1,000 kilometres west of Townsville. Besides its lead and zinc, the town's also known for its annual rodeo. Around 100 kilometres to the north, city folk can become cowboys for a day on a cattle muster at a place called Gunpowder. But to really get a feel for outback life, it's worth a visit to the Stockman's Hall of Fame at Longreach. It's about 2.5 days' drive west of Brisbane, around the same distance from London to Rome. Further south is an unexpected find in the bush, Carnarvon Gorge. This lush valley has been carved over millions of years by the freshwater streams. A guided tour through the gorge reveals waterfalls, rare plant life and ancient rock art, all just 5 minutes away from arid lands. And visitors can stay here in comfortable bush tents at the Oasis Lodge. Queensland has so much to offer as a holiday destination. Whether it's the outback, rainforests, reef, or just a great beach to relax on, you'll find it here. If your time's your own, take the opportunity to explore it all by road. Or if you have just a couple of weeks to spare, the domestic airlines can link you to all of Queensland's major destinations. Whatever way you choose to see it, Queensland is a must on any Australian holiday itinerary.